Was that the craziest win of the season for our Angels? I think it might be. Multiple comebacks, a crazy walk-off home run from Logan O'Hoppe, and the Angels avoid the sweep on Sunday. We'll discuss it all on today's edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast.
You are Locked On Angels Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
That's right, folks. The Angels get their first home walk-off win of 2024 thanks to a crazy walk-off two-run shot from Logan O'Hoppe. Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls. And welcome to the latest, and I say most excited edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast. Coming at you live from the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel, and of course, after the fact, both on the channel and wherever you get your Locked On Angels podcast feed. Jeff in the building, he says, wow, a walk-off, wish I could have seen it. Oh, well, I'm glad you were able to then watch the replay, because maybe the craziest walk-off I've seen in a while. Anaheim Angel back again, and he says, yep, that walk-off home run was close. Fortunately, Angels legend Cabbage's glove at the top of the wall to drop it. Nice way to end the weekend. Got to start with the comments right away off the bat to see what you guys are thinking, because boy, was that a crazy, not only a crazy game, but how fitting, a game that wild, with multiple comebacks, with 26 combined hits on a Sunday matinee game against the Astros, trying to avoid a sweep, trying to break a historically bad offensive stretch. How fitting that the way you do it is with a walk-off that is that crazy. Before we jump in today's show, well, we will have a thorough breakdown of that comeback, both in the bottom of the eighth inning and, of course, the walk-off in the ninth. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the overall offensive performance, because suddenly the Angels broke a historically bad stretch I talked about yesterday with 9 runs. And then, of course, I will talk a little bit about the pitching struggles and how great it feels that for once, the pitchers were helped out by the lineup. How great to be able to say that. But before I say any of that, shout out to Daniel as well. He says, yo, great win. Absolutely. He's in here every single day. But real quick, today's sponsor of today's postcast is FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And let's get started. I gotta say to start a couple of things real quick. We've been doing the postcast for a couple of weeks now, and there have not been many games like this one where there's so much happen, you might not be able to cover everything. Obviously, we've talked about it, and we'll talk about it later, how the Angels had gone 15 straight games without scoring more than 4 runs. And what is the result of that? The result of that is many games where you talk about 1 or 2 home runs or a couple late inning, ground balls through the hole. You talk about a good starting pitching performance and whether or not the bullpen got the job done, and that's about it. That's what it's been so far on the postcast. But today, we finally got a game where there's runs in the 3rd inning, there's runs in the 4th inning, there's runs in the 5th inning, there's a 2-run deficit going into the 8th inning, and then there's 2 runs in the 8th, and there's 2 runs in the 9th. Rarely, and I think maybe for the first time, honestly, did we get a game where I can talk about multiple innings of scoring runs, multiple times that I thought the Angels lost the game, because there were multiple times, number one being Hunter Strickland. We'll get to that later. But it is crazy, and it is nice to finally say we have a game where so much happened that we might not even talk about every single hit or every single run. We've literally been able to break down every single hit in most of these shows because there's 5 from the Angels. We literally, yesterday, were able to break down almost every single Ben Joyce pitch because there wasn't really much else to talk about in a bad loss. So we might as well just talk about Ben Joyce throwing 103 miles an hour and not even getting outs. But today, 9-7, the final. I don't even think I said the score yet. The Angels win 9-7, the final score, to avoid the sweep from the Astros. And what a crazy game it was. We will get into innings 1 through 7, plenty, later on in the show. But I want to start with the bottom of the 8th and then get to the walk-off. Because I'm at a loss for words. And later in the show, I'll tell you why I'm so exhausted, by the way. That's for another story. But bottom of the 8th, we'll just jump to it. Because at this point, I'm kind of furious. This was the game where I felt like the Angels were doing a lot right offensively. You never say that. And to be down 2 runs going into the bottom of the 8th, I'm like, maybe the Angels have already done everything they can. Because 5 runs is the most they've had in 16 games. Do they have anything left in the tank? But they had a lot left in the tank. And how fitting that the rally in the 8th starts with the Logan O'Hoppe ground rule double. How fitting. Because he ended up being the hero later in this one. But O'Hoppe starts out the bottom of the 8th with a double to contribute to what will end up being an amazing stat line for him. One of the most memorable games of his young career for sure. And then after a Shanuel strikeout, we get a Zach Neto double. So, man, I am thrilled because we know the Angels aren't playing for anything basically already at this point other than boosting trade values and hoping the young guys come through. But boy, did the young guys come through. Zach Neto continues to get RBI doubles. This one here after a Logan O'Hoppe double. And that got things started in the bottom of the 8th. But there was more. Because after a wild pitch moved Zach Neto to third, after Mickey Moniak drew a walk. Guys, this game is so crazy that I wasn't screaming at the TV when Mickey Moniak came up to bat. He had one of the worst bunts I've ever seen, and it was an RBI. This game was absurd. It was absurd. But Mickey Moniak walks and gets to first base, and then Michael Stefanik, who I don't know why he was in the leadoff spot. I didn't love it, to be honest, at all. I was going to kind of rant about it if the Angels lost this game. Now I don't need to. He didn't have a great game, but he got the job done in the bottom of the 8th with a little half check swing. Probably didn't even mean to make contact, but he pokes the ball to right field, and Zach Neto was able to score the game-tying run in the bottom of the 8th. It looked like we were going to get even more because then Hader comes in for Ryan Presley, and at first it's not his fault at all. He gets a really weak ground ball from Luis Rengifo. Dubon biffs it. Moniak gets to third. Rengifo gets on. Then Rengifo steals second, and I'm thinking, wait a second. We might not even need to. It's always funny. I got to prep when I go live, right? About like 5-10 minutes after the game ends. I was thinking, wait, suddenly we go from down 7-5 to maybe not even having the bottom of the 9th inning. We got second and third here in the bottom of the 8th, and the game tied all of a sudden. Taylor Ward does strike out, of course. Josh Hader is a great closer, whether or not the stats say it. He is. And he strikes out Ward, who had a really rough game, one of the few guys who did struggle. But it did not matter because not only did Carlos Estevez shock about everyone with another 1-2-3 inning. I think he's got 1-2-3 innings in like the last 3 or 4 appearances. He obviously had back-to-back saves. Shut the door here on the top of the 9th. And then, let's just jump right to it. Kevin Pillar continued his stellar game, continued his stellar season against lefties with the 1-out single. And then, the moment you were waiting for me to get to, Logan O'Hoppe. Tell me in the comments if you're here. Shout out to everybody that is here. Shout out to everybody leaving comments already. Tell me in the comments, whether live or after the fact. When you saw this ball come off the bat of Logan O'Hoppe, what did you think? When you saw Mr. Cabbage leap into left field, or leap into the left field bleachers almost, what did you think? Because I thought he was out. I did. I mean, everybody did, obviously. If you don't know what I'm talking about, and I'll break it down, I got guys like Jeff here in the chat saying that they were not able to watch it live. I'm sure everyone's seen the replay by now, but O'Hoppe rips one on the first pitch of the at-bat, which O'Hoppe likes that first pitch swing, and every once in a while it really does work out for him, and it worked out here. Gets a slider down and in from Hader, starting away from him, coming towards him, and he rips it down the left field line about as perfectly as you can do it. Only 364. The wall's about 363, and I thought Cabbage caught it. I really did. He had the ball in his hand, obviously, had it in his glove, but it hits, his elbow hits the wall, the ball pops out. O'Hoppe had no idea. Kevin Pillar looked like he had no idea. Both Angel players are on first base. Thank goodness they did not cross each other because I think that would have been a whole disaster as well. But at the end of the day, it looked like a home run. They start walking around. The Angel manager comes out to complain, but the call on the field stands. This isn't football, but the call on the field stands. And a wild walk-off. And how good this feels just to celebrate, right? Just to celebrate. We never get to do it with our Angels as is, but especially in walk-off fashion. We never get to do it. Obviously, first one of the year. And it just feels so great. It feels so great, but it's so important too who it was. Obviously, I love seeing Kevin Pillar go out there and have another monster game, 2 for 4 with 3 runs, one of the game-winning runs. Great to see that. But at the end of the day, we know the goal for this year right now is for the young guys to look like big league ball players. And O'Hoppe steals the player of the game from Jose Altuve. Jose Altuve was unbelievable. Unbelievable. 4 for 5, 3 RBIs, 2 runs. But somehow his game, his performance is completely outshone by Logan O'Hoppe's 4 for 5, 3 runs, 2 RBIs on the 2-run shot. He had the key double to start things in the 8th. He obviously had the walk-off in the 9th. Logan O'Hoppe, superstar performance, and that average creeping up to 269. The OPS is now 768, which is second best on the team behind the legend himself, Kevin Pillar, because, oh my gosh, Kevin Pillar. But man, how good does it feel for Logan O'Hoppe to be one of the ones who comes through? He has been arguably him and Zach Neto. I'd say Zach Neto has more of a burden in terms of in the field. I know that being a catcher is arguably the hardest thing in all baseball, but I think so is being a shortstop, especially a young shortstop. Zach Neto has done that really well. He's been solid, batting .250, but Logan O'Hoppe has been, when he's played, obviously, probably the best of the youngsters so far this year, and he comes through and he gets rewarded and he gets to celebrate in front of one of the biggest home crowds of the season against one of our most hated teams in one of our most crazy games to avoid a sweep, to cap off a homestand that will actually end up looking really good at 4-2 against the Padres and Astros. If you said that at the beginning of the homestand, you would have called me crazy. We're going to go 4-2 against these two teams. Obviously, when you get a sweep and then you lose 2 in a row, it doesn't feel as good, but what a way to cap it off and suddenly erase those 2 losses with a fun win like this. Sega Boy W in here as always. He says, congrats on graduating, sir. Thank you. One more time. Next week, it's coming up on Friday, will be my official graduation. But yes, I was out 2 days ago for some sort of graduation ceremony, actually with the Daily Bruin, which I don't even introduce myself anymore. Hey, everybody, I'm Gavin Carlson. I've been a credentialed journalist in LA for 4 years with the Daily Bruin, covering UCLA sports, interviewing all your favorite players, sitting in press boxes, sitting in courtside seats, all that good stuff. But anyways, yes, appreciate that. Graduating in a week. Glad that this type of game did not happen 2 days ago when I was not here. And he says, any idea why Suarez is starting on Tuesday? I don't actually. I don't know. Actually, it's probably because there's only 4 starters in the rotation right now because Reed Detmers was sent down to AAA. So I'm thinking that's what it is. Maybe I'm wrong, to be honest, but that's what I'm thinking. Now we will take our first break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Angels 9, Astros 7. Halos avoid the sweep in the most wild game maybe of the entire season, and certainly the most wild walk-off, the only walk-off of the season for our Angels. 9-7 the final. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast with me, Gavin Carlson, live on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel. We'll take our first break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about the offense because, yes, it doesn't take just one segment to talk about the offense today. The lineup was that good. We can talk about it after the break and specifically talk about the entire performance from inning 2 to 9 because there was runs in almost every inning from our Angels. We'll talk about that and more after our break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Today's show is brought to you by Supply House. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Now look, supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business. And here's my favorite thing, folks. Talk to a real person every time. You don't get that much in 2024. Pros in the skilled trades can also get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. The show is also brought to you by FanDuel. And look, summertime means baseball, the NBA Finals, and more. And you can bet it all on FanDuel. As you know, I say it every single show. I love fantasy sports. I love betting on sports. Obviously, if you're in a state where you can do it, please use FanDuel, because not only does it have the best lines, in my opinion, not only does it have the best interface, I think that's guaranteed, but it also has the best promotions. Like right now, new customers get $200,000, not 200,000, excuse me, $200. I'm going to clarify so I don't get in trouble. Right now, new customers get $200, 200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet on everything from the Finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the park, just like Logan O'Hoppe today, baby. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. We are back here live on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast. I am Gavin Carlson, and the Angels are victorious. I don't know why I sounded like I had an accent there. They are victorious, 9-7, avoiding the sweep from the Houston Astros to move to 4-2 on the homestand. But more importantly than moving to 25-40, more importantly than, maybe cutting the deficit in the AL West to 1 million games instead of 1,000,001. More importantly, the Angels offense finally ended a historically bad stretch. I talked about it yesterday. 15 straight games with 4 runs or less. The longest streak since 1992, folks. I'm going to make myself sound really young here. I was born in 2002. I'm 22 years old. 1992, folks. The last time the Angels went that long, 15 or more games without scoring 5 runs. And the streak went to 17. And I was scared that our streak was going to go to 17 this year. But not only do the Angels finally score more than 5 runs, but they do it in wild fashion and in breakout fashion. And it started pretty early. Second inning, matter of fact. After 1-2-3 first, because Stefanik was leading off, I don't like it. I'll say it one more time. It's a very positive show today. But I will say, I do not like Stefanik leading off at all. All right? Nolan Sandoval has not been great in the leadoff spot, and ironically, he had a great game today with 2 sac flies. I mean, about as great as a game as you can have without having a hit, right? 2 sac flies, 2 RBIs. But I would rather see Rengifo leading off and Sandoval hitting second or something than seeing Sandoval get thrown all the way back down to 7th. And ironically, it did work today. It did work because many of the rallies were Sandoval finishing off what the middle part of the lineup was doing with a sac fly, or O'Hoppe doing something in the 7th spot, in the 6th spot, and then Neto doing something, or then Moniak even doing something with 2 RBIs today. So, I mean, maybe the argument is the lineup worked out? Maybe it did. Obviously, he scored 9 runs, but Stefanik, I don't like it at the leadoff spot. I think it's way too much pressure for a young guy who has not proven it yet at this level. I'd rather see Sandoval grow at the leadoff spot than Stefanik, but that's just me. Anyways, second inning, the Angels get it started, and they get it started with multiple times in this game, small ball. I have been, we've all been wanting to see this fundamental baseball that we've been promised, this Ron Washington, bunting guys over, actually getting sac flies, getting creative on the bases, stealing when you need to. And we saw that a lot today. I just got to say, maybe I'm wrong. Tell me in the comments if I'm wrong. I don't think I've ever seen so many soft hit bloopers into left center field, bloopers down the left field line. Even Sandoval's sac fly here in the bottom of the second was not hit very hard. It was barely a sac fly, 78.4 exit velo. It went 277 feet. Like, maybe I am exaggerating, but the amount of bloop hits, the amount of infield biffs by fielders and shots down the left field line, and obviously it ending with the home run that was the definition of a wall scraper. I just felt like there was a lot of those. But the small ball from the Angels was actually almost perfect today. And it started with Kevin Pillar doing what he has done all year, and that is be probably the best hitter for the Angels. A one-out double from Pillar off of Verlander. Let's not forget, this is against Justin Verlander, who this is not 2016 or something, but it's still impressive. This guy still has a sub-4 ERA, and you did this to him and the bullpen. A double from Kevin Pillar, and then you get a single from O'Hoppe, moves him over to third, and you get a sac fly. Oh, and thank goodness it was Shanuel, because despite him being a younger guy, I don't think there's many guys in the lineup I trust more than him to just do the simple thing. You got a runner on third with one out. Just hit the ball in the outfield, please. Don't hit the ball 2 feet like Mickey Moniak a couple days ago. Don't strike out like Joe Adell all the time in these moments. Just do what you're supposed to do. Sac fly, get the job done. Wasn't even hit that deep, but good enough. Pillar scores. Great. We'll get into, in the next segment, the reason why that run was quickly erased by 3 from Houston. But then the Angels, as they did multiple times today, responded to the deficit. Suddenly down 3-1 after that run in the second. They score 2 in the fourth to tie things up. And it's just like, it's so refreshing to see. Your pitcher can struggle a little bit, but guess what? There's 2 teams on offense. The great thing about baseball, each team gets a turn. And so many times this season has not felt like that. It feels like, Tyler Anderson gave up 2 runs yesterday in 1 inning or whatever. The game's over because the Angels aren't going to do anything. Finally, a game where they help out their starting pitcher. Willie Calhoun with a leadoff single. Kevin Pillar gets hit by a pitch because that's the only way you can stop him right now. Hitting .330, over 900 OPS. O'Hoppe with one of his 4 hits, another single. And suddenly, bases loaded for Nolan Shanuel. Ironically, I'm talking about the small ball. I'm talking about all the weak hit RBIs and extra base hits. This one, for a moment, looked like it had a chance from Shanuel, especially in right center, right field area, which is not the deepest. He hit it 95 miles an hour off the bat with the bases loaded. But once again, even though he only gets a sac fly for it, how relieving, how nice to see Shanuel, the one up to bat once again, going, all right, the bases are loaded with nobody out. Just don't hit a ground ball. Just please don't get a double play. Because even if it's a second to first double play and the run scores, then there's 2 outs and you're probably just getting 1 run. Just thank you for understanding the objective. He understood the mission. Bases loaded, nobody out. Hit the ball in the air. Sac fly. Perfect. He hit it deep. Verlander helped him out with 2 high fastballs. He's probably trying to get the pop up, but he hits it deep. We get a run. And guess what? Because it's a sac fly where there's only 1 out, there is more on the way, folks. Once again, being assisted by the Astros, who certainly had a rough one. Neto walked, hit by pitch. So now the bases are juiced once again with 1 out. And I don't know who makes the call here. I don't know if it's Ron Washington. I assume it's not Mickey Moniak himself. But I like the idea. I know the Angels have had some squeeze bunt attempts earlier in the year that did not go so well. The Guillermo one, I believe, being the obvious example. But today, it worked out, despite it being not a good bunt for Mickey Moniak. Let's be honest. Anytime you go to bunt the ball and the ball goes up at all, you get really scared. But this one didn't just slightly go. This one was basically a slight little pop-up to third. Thank goodness it was able to hit the ground first before Pena got to it. Before Bregman got to it. And a run was able to score. They just get the force out at second. Any other team, your hitter's swinging away, but I like the call. Mickey Moniak is still well below 200 this year. Still can't really hit anything. So instead of him doing the inevitable and grounding into a double play, at least have a bunt where even if there's a double play chance, you have a better chance of running it out. I like the logic. I liked it in the moment. I did not like it the moment the ball started floating up after the bunt, after the contact was made, but obviously it worked out. The Angels were not able to get more done because Stefanik comes up and he had a rough one, and it's okay. He's young. He's not supposed to be the guy driving in the big runs. But 2 runs in the third. Great to see. Already right there, you've got 3 runs through 4 innings, and you're thinking, wait, we might score more than 4. Then we get back-to-back runs, bottom of the 5th and bottom of the 6th, to break that streak of less than 5 runs. Bottom of the 5th, Rengifo will lead off single, gets to second. Taylor Ward strikes out. He had a rough one, but Calhoun had a great game. He had another single, and Rengifo scores on this one. Kevin Pillar, ironically, killed this rally with the double play, but once again, a leadoff single, just some sort of small ball. Rengifo gets to second, and then Calhoun knocks him in. Not 4 hit innings, not 3-run home runs. Just get a guy into scoring position. In this one, obviously 2 sac flies. Get a guy on third with 1 out, and actually just don't screw up. Get the bases loaded. Get some help. Get hit by pitches. Don't screw up. That's what happened today throughout this one. Finally, in the bottom of the 6th, more small ball, more assisting from the Astros. An error to start the game or start the inning gets O'Hoppe on. Then Samuel and Neto strike out. But guess what? When you get a guy on without, in the first at bat of the inning, there's room for error. It's not two outs and you're trying to pull something out of nothing. And so then Mickey Moniak, believe it or not, gets an RBI. I know, a real one. His second, a multi-RBI game for Mickey Moniak. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. He does get caught stealing to end the inning. That was one of multiple hit and run attempts. One of them worked out. One of them did not work out, but it's okay. Then we had more chaos. I'm catching my breath because I'm breaking down more runs and hits than I think I ever have in a postcast. And then we get the 9th. Then we get the 8th. And that's what we already discussed. But so many small ball things, in my opinion, just like a lot of bloopers. We'll get to the Astros a bit, and after the break, they had some bloopers down the line, mainly in that Strickland inning. They had kind of the typical Astro inning where there's a couple of bloops that are lucky, and then there's a big home run from Altuve. Who had an unbelievable game. But it's just so nice to actually see runners on third with 1 out. First off, we don't see that very often, but to see it actually result in runs. To actually see a squeeze bunt attempt with the bases loaded actually work out. To actually see a Willie Calhoun weak ground ball, let's be honest, that ground ball was weak. But for once, the baseball gods were in favor of our Angels, and we were able to poke. It was able to get through, right? So many little things, so many assists from the Astros as well. The amount of walks, 2 errors from Houston, the amount of hit by pitches, just a lot of help as well. So everything needs to happen in order for the Angels. All things have to be combined. Lucky hits between the holes, sac flies actually working out, bad bunts not being out, being hit by pitches, being walked. All of it has to happen for the Angels to have a big game. But they did. And we will take it, especially to avoid a sweep and especially to clinch a positive winning homestand. So, a lot of comments in here. I will read them after I take this last break. I'm already well ahead of time. We're at 28 minutes, and I still have a whole nother segment. So I'm going to take our last break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast, live on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel. And when I come back, I will read those comments. I'll quickly talk about the pitching struggles because, let's be honest, the pitching was not great today for our Angels, but it did not matter. 9-7 the final. Angels win on a Logan O'Hoppe crazy walk-off home run, and we'll discuss why they needed it after this last break. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast. Today's show is also brought to you by LinkedIn, and specifically the LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Now, look, I have a question for you. Are you struggling to close deals? B2B selling is tougher than ever. Yes, it is. And that's why I want to tell you about LinkedIn Sales Navigator. I love LinkedIn. I talk about it all the time. As I've discussed, thanks to the comments today and in previous days, I am graduating in a week. I certainly use LinkedIn to look for jobs. I also had a former job where I was recruiting people, and we use LinkedIn Recruiter, but there's also LinkedIn Sales Navigator, one aspect of all of the amazing stuff LinkedIn offers. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high-value customers, drive higher revenue, and increase sales performance. Sales Navigator helps you target the right buyers, surface key signals such as job changes or which accounts you should prioritize, and shows you hidden allies so you can find those buyers that are most likely to convert. Here's the key. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform. That's the key. Not many platforms can say that. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform, Sales Navigator gives you the most up-to-date first-party data, enabling you to unlock conversations with the people that matter. So, right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/lockedon. That is linkedin.com/lockedon for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/lockedon and get started. One more time here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Angels 9, Astros 7. Logan O'Hoppe with a 4-hit game, capped off with a 2-run bottom of the 9th walk-off home run. It was in the left fielder's glove, and then it wasn't. And the Angels avoid a sweep and move to 4-2 on the homestand. As I promised, I will now get to more of the comments because it is popping in here, as it should be. The Angels with arguably, in my opinion, I know, ironically, the only game I think, at least in recent memory, that can compete was the other crazy game against the Astros where we had home runs from Adele, from Shanuel, from O'Hoppe. The Astros seem to bring out the crazy ones in us, and we had another one today. Shout out to the comments. Let's see if I can get caught up here. Just some comments from Jeff and Anaheim Angel about 1992, the last time the Angels offense was doing as bad as it was coming into today. But Anaheim Angel also saying, I know this game is not the norm, but I really hope the youngins can build on this. Absolutely. Like we keep saying, that is the key. That is the key. Just find things you can build on for the young guys and find performances you can capitalize on and trade off of for the old guys. Pilar with another trade value boosting performance, going 2 for 4 with 3 runs. That's exactly what you want to see from him. But yes, the young guys. How can you not build on this if you're Logan O'Hoppe? You went 4 for 5 and had the 2 biggest hits of the game, probably the leadoff double in the 8th and the game-winning walk-off 2-run home run in the 9th. How can you not build off of that, right? Nolan Shanuel, even when you don't get any hits today, 2 sac flies. How can you not build off of that, right? Mickey Moniak, you're hitting 167, but you finally found a way to get an RBI, and you also found an RBI single, and you found a way to get an RBI via the sac bunt. That's something you can build off of. So, Rengifo goes 2 for 4. His trade value stays, super high. Joe Adell did not start today. He's the only young guy we really got to turn around. Zach Neto, 247, not amazing, not awful. And he keeps finding ways to get big doubles, big RBI hits in key moments. So, yes, absolutely not the norm at all. Like we said, the first game with 5 or more runs in the last 16. But, yes, this is certainly something you can build off of, and we'll see if the road trip changes things at all. Hopefully not. Jeff said, adding that he agreed with that comment. Once again, shout out to all of you in here. And Nick King, who I have not seen yet today, but he's always in here every single day. Shout out to you. And he says, O'Hoppenbomber. O'Hoppenbomber. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. You need to, make that popular, hopefully. I think that would be hilarious. Somehow, comment that on the Angels IG account whenever they post something dumb when we lose by 10 runs. Just whatever. Comment that. Get that trending because I love that. O'Hoppenbomber. But real quick, we're already way above time. Just honestly, just so you guys can let me know in the comments right now and after the fact. How do we feel about every aspect of the pitching performance? Patrick Sandoval, 5 2/3, 8 hits, 3 walks, not great, 5 earned runs. Obviously, it looked like he was going to get out of it. It really did. He was just 1 out away. He had that 2-run he got the first 2 outs of his final inning and looked like he was going to get out of it. So it really hurt when things really blew up for him in the top of the 6th. We'll quickly talk about it. Diaz with the ground out and Myers strikes out. And you're thinking, all right, Sandoval, he's going to get through the 6th. And, 4 runs in the 6th, not amazing, not terrible, right? 3 runs through 6 innings. Honestly, pretty great, especially against this lineup. But because with 2 outs, we get back-to-back hits, a Dubon single on a ground ball that sure was ripped somewhat, but not amazing. And then a really, really tough, super, squared up hit by Jose Abreu. Excuse me, I'm stuttering here. Let's just start this over. Jose Abreu rips the ground ball down the left field line with 2 outs after Dubon already had a single, and Sandy was so close so close to getting through 6 with only allowing 3 runs, and it would have been a great outing against this lineup. But instead, those back-to-back hits get that game-tying 4th run. At that time, it was 4-3 too. So it was really one of the rare times where Sandoval was pitching late into a game, and it really matters because he has a lead for once. And he loses the chance to have a win in this one, obviously, with that. So I'm sure that infuriated him, but I'm sure it infuriated him even more when he comes out. Strickland comes in, and Strickland, who before this series had like a sub 1.7 ERA, talk about trade value. Something great was coming for him. But instead, now 2 straight outings against these Astros where he has blown up, and this one was brutal. A pretty weak hit ball from McCormick. Pretty weak. 70 miles an hour off the bat. He kind of just bloops one over the third baseman. But it's enough for even the slowest Jose Abreu to score from second. Enough for McCormick to race in and beat a noodle arm throw from Taylor Ward at second. And then on the first pitch, he absolutely hangs a slider to Jose Altuve. And Altuve, who I think I said it by now, 4 for 5 was unbelievable. If O'Hoppe wasn't O'Hoppenbomber, I'll put it back up, Nick King, don't worry. If Logan O'Hoppe wasn't O'Hoppenbomber today, then Jose Altuve would look like the MVP of the game for sure. Because here, after the Astros make it 2 in the top of the 6th, they suddenly make it 4, thanks to a absolute missile. 406 feet, 103.2 exit velo on a first pitch hanging slider from Strickland to Jose Altuve. And suddenly a 4-3 lead becomes a 7-4 deficit. That really, really hurt. Really, really hurt. Luckily, that was all that happened for Houston. No runs in innings 7 through 8. The rest of the bullpen, not without any issues. Matt Moore made it interesting, gave up 2 hits, but he's able to have a scoreless inning for the first time in a while. Drops his ERA to 5.11, still not good at all. But if we can get that in the 4s, maybe even in the 3s by the trade deadline, you can get something for him. Garcia does not give up an earned run. His ERA falls to 4.28, and Estevez is suddenly looking really good. I'm not going to get ahead of myself and say that he is really good, but he's looked really good recently, and that feels great. Sega Boy asking, what is our record against the AL West? I think it's 5-7. I think it is. That's what Nick King and Anaheim Angel are saying. I believe you guys. It's funny. We started out 4-2, right, with those 2 series against Texas and Houston. So shout out to Houston for helping us once again try to build that record. Still a positive record against the Astros now, I think, if I did that correctly, or maybe we're even with them. But nonetheless, a very, very feel-good win here on a Sunday with the kids in the stands to get the Zach Neto kids jerseys. Good crowd. Sunday, the weather started bad. It got better. So did the game. All you can ask for a team that's 25-40. Let's be honest. That's all you can ask for is you avoid a sweep in thrilling fashion. Finally, the Angel fans get to have some fun. And I'm not acting like it means anything in the long run in terms of competing for anything this year. But certainly, as Anaheim Angel commented, really hope the youngins can build on this one. And no one else more likely to build on this one than Logan O'Hoppe. 9-7 the final. O'Hoppe the hero. 2-run walk-off home run in the bottom of the 9th inning to cap off a 4-for-5, 3-run, 2 RBI performance. I am Gavin Carlson. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast. Angels 9, Astros 7. The Angels avoid the sweep. They finally break the streak of not scoring 5 runs with not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, but 9. And finally, the Angels staff does not have a great pitching performance, and it didn't matter. We never get to say that, but we get to say that today. So that's going to do it for this postcast. The Angels win. The Angels avoid the sweep, and we will be back tomorrow. New series to hopefully turn things around. Maybe we can win a series again because it was really looking like the Angels were going to get swept. Instead, it's a 4-2 homestand. Feel really good about that. So with all that being said, I'm Gavin Carlson, Angels 9, Astros 7, and we will be back tomorrow as we are after every single Angel game. Shout out to everybody in here. Appreciate the comments. I will shout you out one more time. Jeff was in here bright and early, getting excited about the walk-off. Anaheim Angel, as always. Daniel Barry, as always. Sega Boy W, as always, including the nice comments about my graduation. Appreciate that. And Nick King in here, as always, as well. He with the comment of the day, O'Hoppenbomber. O'Hoppe bomber. With that, I will say farewell. Angels 9, Astros 7. Go celebrate and have a good rest of your Sunday evening. Angels win. So long.